Here are 10 hidden gem movies from the late 90s to the early 2000s. Around that time in my life, I had graduated high school, I had my own place, and I was renting more movies than I ever had in my entire life. I went from renting tapes on the weekends and Friday night to anytime I had a few dollars in my pocket, I was just hitting up that video rental store because it was a lot cheaper than buying a DVD at the time. Now, I still bought DVDs, but for a few dollars, you can grab some stuff that you might have been on the fence about. And so that's where all these came into play. Now, the very first one here as we dive in, it came from the late 90s. So this one's from 1997, and it is Body Count with Alyssa Milano and Ice-T. Now, this one, if you've never seen it, it's just a very simple premise. So it's very, very similar to the newer movie You're Next. But you have Alyssa Milano's character. She's dating a very rich guy. You meet them in the very beginning of the movie. They're going to his parents' house for a special dinner, and then all of a sudden the house starts to get robbed, and while they're hiding in the basement, and then all of a sudden, not just robbed, the family starts getting picked off one by one. Really good story, underrated, and it's just a classic Saturday afternoon film. Now, this one here was never going to win any awards, and it falls more probably under that independent label or independent film type of story or vibe. It didn't seem like there was ever a ton of money put behind this one, but a high recommend, great Saturday afternoon film, and one that I like to revisit often.
To stay alive, they must even the score.
Kill them.
Let hunting season begin.
Now, here's another one from 1997, and this is one that I don't even remember when it came out, because like around that time you had a lot of the being a high school kid and a teenager at the time, any of these like teenage comedies, sex comedies were usually at the forefront of everybody's talking about that time. Like, they were always coming highly recommended. You'd go to school, people were talking about it, even afterwards. But around that time, I also worked at a video rental store. So how this one completely missed me until after I graduated high school and I found it, I don't know how that happened. But we have Will Friedle, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Marley Shelton in Trojan War. Now, this one, if you've never seen it, just a classic film, but you have Will Friedle and Jennifer Love Hewitt. They're best friends. They grew up next to each other. We've seen this story time and time again, especially in rom-coms, in also the teenage rom-coms. But you have this story where they're best friends, but he really thinks he loves this girl. He's trying to get with her. He finds out along the way she's kind of a jerk, but he also wants to sleep with her. So the entire thing, it's a one-night event of him trying to get a condom so he can get with her, but along the way, maybe he really loves her the whole time. So really fun one. Absolutely love this. And again, it's one that I found early 2000s, and I don't know why this one missed me. It only ever had this Blu-ray, and recently this was sent to me as a gift, so glad to have this now. Thank you.
And the quest for a little protection.
Now, the next one here is from 1998, and around that time, it was like shortly after Scream hit it big, and I became a huge Matthew Lillard fan. I was trying to watch anything he was in. I think he's a top-notch, underrated actor, one of my all-time favorites. And this movie here, it has also got another name change. So it was called The Curve back then, and now I believe it's called Dead Man's Curve. And this one here, I think it does have a DVD, but I don't have that DVD. Now, this one, if you haven't seen it, you have these group of college kids. They find out very quickly if one of their roommates or somebody that they know dies, they instantly get a 4.0 GPA average.
The university would like to extend the offer of an automatic 4.0.
We want to do everything.
They figure that out, and then there's murder afoot, there's a little bit of a mystery, definitely some suspense, and a little bit of thriller, all tied into one. But I absolutely love this one, very underrated, and I think more people should watch it. But this is something that, late 90s Matthew Lillard, I'll watch anything he's in, but high recommend.
I don't really know. Chris, you were with him a lot more that night. What do you think?
Are you blind? Tim is setting you up.
The very next one here is Whatever It Takes. Now, this one here, it came out in 2000, and I think that's about the time that I found this film. But Whatever It Takes is just a classic tale. It's something we've seen a million times. But these two guys, they're not friends, but they're shaking hands on the cover because they made a deal where they're going to let each other know how they can get with these girls. Now, Shane West's character is best friends with Marla Sokolov's character. They grew up together, and as he's trying to hook up James Franco with her because he wants to get with James Franco's cousin, he's realizing along the way that maybe that's a mistake, maybe he actually liked her the entire time. But this is just a classic rom-com, definitely a great date night movie, and just a fun high recommend from the early 2000s.
We don't have dates.
I do. Well, you don't know her. She's recently divorced.
That's Mommy's date.
Now, the next one is something that came out in 2001, and as I found it, and I've been talking about it for all these years, this has only ever had this DVD, and when I found the DVD, it was very hard to find. I've been looking for it for years, and then finally one of them showed up on eBay a few years back, and so I finally added it to the collection. But as I look into it, like Studio S Entertainment, that's the company that put this out. But when I went to look at the date of when this came out, which, so 2001, it says that Lionsgate put this movie out. So I hope they actually have the rights and this could come out eventually. I'm not sure, but Spanish Judges is just, for me, a great Saturday afternoon film. Now you have Vince D'Onofrio, Matthew Lillard, Valerie Golino. Huge Matthew Lillard fan, but this right here is also two of my favorite genres kind of mixed together with a twist and a thriller at the same time. So it's a con job, but it's also a heist movie. And so you have Valerie and Vince D'Onofrio's characters. They're together. They're criminals. They're stealing stuff. They're buying stolen goods. Their house is filled with like expensive, important antiques that are probably lost and forgotten about, stolen obviously from, you know, private collectors and museums and that type of thing. Like, so they're definitely heavy into the underworld. But then Matthew Lillard's character enters their life, and you're not really sure exactly what's going on most of the time. And then he wants them to pull this heist, and then there's a little bit of a con going on, and then some backstabbing, and this is just a great Saturday afternoon film, but a high recommend.
Where'd you come from?
I'm sitting right here the whole time.
New boyfriend, Sister Mary Agnes?
He says he's your brother.
The next one here is another one from 2001, but this one has a huge star-studded cast, and it's just an underrated comedy, and this only had a Blu-ray on Olive Films, I think, and it's Heartbreakers. Absolutely love this film, but you have Gene Hackman, Jennifer Love Hewitt, you also have Sigourney Weaver, and there's just a ton of great people in here. You got Jason Lee, Ray Liotta, Jeffrey Jones, all around top-notch film. But this is a con job movie. Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt played mother and daughter, and then they're conning rich people out of their money where they marry them, and then right before, you know, anything is to take place and, you know, they're to, you know, commit to the marriage, if you will, Jennifer Love Hewitt gets involved, and then it seems like there's some cheating, and then instant divorce, and then a huge payday for these two, and really enjoy this one. I just think it's all around fun. Another great date night movie, and it's a PG-13, so it's not one of those like super raunchy ones, but real high recommend. Absolutely love this one.
Then comes that magic moment that makes it all worthwhile.
The next one here is a great one from 2001, and this is one that at the time when it came out, I don't think anyone was talking about it. I never saw a trailer for this, and I just happened to be at the video rental store, and it was just on the store shelf. Just based on the cover alone and the cast, I grabbed it, and man, it falls under everything that I love. There's a heist movie, there's some, you know, backstabbing going on, a con job, all that stuff kind of rolled into one. But then you have Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner, you have Courtney Cox, and it's 3,000 Miles to Graceland. Now this one here, they have these Elvis impersonators, and they decide to rob a casino, and along the way, Kevin Costner's character may or may not be actual Elvis's illegitimate son, and that conversation comes up. He takes the entire Elvis bit way too seriously, but there's murder, there's mayhem, there's, you know, the whole robbing of the casino, but absolutely love this one. High recommend, and just another hidden gem movie.
Stole my car, you stole my money.
Damn it, you almost hit me.
You nuts? Probably.
So the next one here is another one from 2001, and this was a perfect movie around that time for me. And then finding this on the store shelves, I only know of one other person that's ever really mentioned this movie at all on YouTube, and it's Brian over at Last Movie Standing. He loves this film just as much as I do, and this is a movie that it's long out of print. Was a Blu-ray, but it's extremely expensive. I have the PSP movie because they used to put movies on those PSP discs and you can watch them on the video game console. But I have that on there, but I've recently picked up this DVD and it's Tomcats starring Jerry O'Connell, Shannon Elizabeth, Jake Busey. But this is just an all-around fun film. If you have not seen this one, you have these friends. They make this bet because one of their friends is getting married that the very last person to get married is going to win the pot of money. And there's two left 7 years later, and one of them loses a ton of money at a casino, and then he is going to either have to pay it back or die. So he is in a rush to try to get his friend married so he can win the money and pay that back. And yeah, this is just, I think it's an underrated film, just one of my favorites, but another one, I think it works for a great date night movie. It's not too raunchy, but it definitely has some rude and crude humor in there, and it's, you know, it's probably not for everybody, but this is one that I love it. But what I love more than the movie is I love the original movie poster and the German Blu-ray, which is another one that's long out of print, or maybe it was just the VHS. Either way, they have that original movie poster, and it's a woman's body wearing boxer shorts that ties in with the movie, but just, I think that's a much better sell than this one. But yeah, this is something that I found at the video rental store back then. High recommend.
Let's swap some bodily fluids, baby.
The next one here is from 2004, and this is something that I absolutely love it. Now, this is Employee of the Month, not to be confused with the Dane Cook, Jessica Simpson movie. I absolutely love that one. Huge guilty pleasure movie for me. But this one right here is just great. You have Matt Dillon, you have Christina Applegate and Steve Zahn. This is a bank heist movie on the worst day possible, but then you have some double cross, then you have, you know, cheating and friends, and then, you know, buddies that are not buddies. It's just, it's a wild ride. You're not sure what's going on most of the time. By the end of it, as the entire thing unravels on the rewatch, you're kind of going to get there. So this one doesn't get a rewatch for me all the time, but high recommend, even if it was for a one and done. But this is a movie that I absolutely love.
What is going on in here? Bill!
Now, this one here comes from 2004, and it's The Final Cut with Robin Williams, Mira Sorvino, and Jim Caviezel. Now, this is something that it doesn't come up very often. I think this DVD was the only version put out. I mean, there's probably a VHS as well. But this is a movie that, it's a sci-fi thriller. Now, it takes place in what would be considered like a modern time, but almost like a future or a different timeline. And so in this movie, the people, they can get implants in their brain where it records their entire life, good and bad. And then you have these people, they're called cutters, which is played by Robin Williams' character, and they're not supposed to have the implant. And so at a certain age, you find out if you're going to get an implant or not. And then these cutters, they actually have to watch all of the stuff, good and bad. They have to cut out all the bad stuff, and then it plays at their funeral. So it's a heavy heart that they have to watch a lot of this bad stuff, and then, you know, promote these people that maybe they weren't as good as everybody remembered them, and giving them a good funeral. But at the same time, there's huge protests. There's people that are against it. There's people that are trying to take this entire system down. And then, as you see on the back of it, there's people that are going after Robin Williams' character. But this one here, high recommend. Wonderful film, very underrated.
My husband was a great man, Mr. Hackman. He deserves to be remembered as a great man.
And that was 10 underrated hidden gem movies that I absolutely love. I don't think anybody's really talking about, and most of them, they're very hard to find or only on DVD. Let me know what you think of my list. Check out this video right here for more movie recommendations. We always have the merch link down below. And with that, remember to check out a movie today, and I'll catch you guys next time.